Fantastic. Okay, so everybody, sorry about the short delay. It's got to do with computers and it's very complicated, so you probably won't understand. I would like to welcome our esteemed colleagues from Bern University of Applied Sciences, Bruce Nikkel and Endre Bangerter. Endre is a researcher at the BFH, and Bruce is, in addition, also the head of forensics and investigation at UBS. And they're going to talk to us about a new initiative that they have that's called Threatray, and also about a new education initiative in cybersecurity. So,
thanks. No, this is good. I've got a short slide here, and then I'm going to hand it over to my colleague. We're just going to give a couple of updates of some of the stuff that we're doing at the Berner Fachhochschule at the Bern University of Applied Sciences, where I'm working as well and who I'm representing today. What you see on the screen here is a new master's program that we're setting up. It's going to be starting in 2020. And we've got a table in the back where you can get more information about all of the things that BFH is doing in different areas of research in e-voting and security and forensics and so on. So please visit our table. This particular forensics program that we're starting up, it's a Master of Advanced Studies in Digital Forensics and Cyber Investigation. And when we started thinking about this program and discussing this program, we saw that across academia, there's cyber programs popping up all over the place, cybersecurity, cyber defense, and everything. But what we failed to see was a program that was really focused on digital forensics and doing investigations. And that's what we wanted to fill that gap. So this program, if you're working for the police, or you want to work for the police, or you want to be a forensic investigator, this is the program for you, because we're really focusing not on cyber defense and things like that. We're really focusing on the digital forensics part and the investigation part. So this program has all of the traditional digital forensic components that you would expect, like disk forensics and memory forensics, network forensics, and mobile forensics, and so on. But there's also a number of things that are relatively new on the education landscape, and that includes things like drone forensics and automobile forensics and analyzing hardware, doing hardware forensics. And also, because I have a background in the finance industry, there will be a finance investigation component, which covers topics like cyber fraud and taking a look at virtual currencies and e-banking Trojans and things like that. And we've also got an area covering more industrial forensic components. So all of these things you won't find in a typical cybersecurity master's program. So you can take a look. We've got a brochure that has a detailed outline of all of the different modules that are available in this program. And it's a little bit unique. It diverges from the standard BFH teaching model. So the modules are all taught in English, and they're all 1 week long. And we designed it to be 1 week long so that people from across Switzerland and across Europe can fly in just for a module and fly out. And professors also can fly in. So we can get professors from across Europe to come in and teach specialized modules. It's a 60 credit, ECTS 60 credit program. It takes 2.5 years, so 4 semesters of taught modules plus 1 semester of a thesis. And yeah, if you want more information, visit our table at the back, or visit BFH and search for forensics. Now, we're looking for students, obviously. But because this is a brand new program and we have a lot of modules, we are also looking for teachers, for professors. So if you see some of these modules and you feel that you're an expert in one of these areas, you're welcome to contact me, and we'll take a look if you would be suitable for teaching one of these modules. So that's one of the new things that we've got going here. Now, that's it from my side. Now I can hand it over to Endre to talk about his exciting startup.
Right. So are there any questions about this before? Okay, thanks. So.
Can you switch to the PowerPoint, please? Good, thanks very much. So I'm going to speak about the spin-off of BFH. It's called Threatray. It's a company which has been recently founded, end of last year. We have done a seed round, so we have found investment money. And we're developing technologies and products in the domain of fighting cyber defense, malware intelligence. It's an essential malware intelligence platform I'd like to present you. Is this the? Yeah, okay. So I have limited time. I'd nevertheless like to give you some ideas about the technology which the thing is about, because it comes from our lab, and we've invested a lot of time in researching novel technologies, which the whole product is based on, essentially. And I'd like to briefly talk about the value of IOCs first. So that's a graph which you've maybe seen already. It's quite popular, but I think it's a really nice picture. How do you read this? So what you see in this pyramid are different types of IOCs, indicators of compromise, which are used for many different things in cyber defense, for identifying attacks, for correlating attacks, for detection, all these things. So IOCs play a crucial role in many activities in cyber defense. And a very nice and easy IOC is the hash value of a malware file, for instance, or a Word document, whatever, right, which you see in an attack. It's nice and easy to calculate. It's nice and easy to check on hosts, on the network, wherever you want, okay? But the problem is it's very short-lived, because it's very easy for the attacker to change a file. You actually only need to flip one bit, and the whole hash is destroyed, right? So it's easy to evade from the attacker's point of view. And the same is true for IP addresses. So they're much better than hash values. But let's have a look at the IP address of a C2 server of an attacker, right? Today, cyber criminals routinely change IP addresses of the C2 infrastructure. So typically, if you look at the TrickBot botnet, for instance, the lifetime of the IPs is like a couple of days at most. So you see, it's called pyramid of pain. The thing is, with the IOCs at the bottom of the pyramid, you don't cause the attackers too much pain, because they can evade them, right? And the idea is to move up in this pyramid, and what we're working on, what we have researched essentially, is how can you very reliably detect the tools of the attackers. And by tools, in our case, we mean malware code. Okay. So we've researched technologies to detect malware code in a very reliable way. Okay. And why is malware code a very strong and good IOC? So what you see here is analysis of code reuse of the APT29 malware family. It's said to be of Russian origin, but doesn't really matter here. So what you see here, we have analyzed samples over 5 years, and this graph shows how these different releases of the tools of these attackers reuse code. And the way you read this graph is as follows. So we have the initial release of this family, the sample A, okay? Then later on we have the release of sample B. And you see the color coding here means that's the same color here. So sample B is reusing like a few percent of the code of sample A, okay? And then you go on, release of sample C. Sample C is going to reuse already like 20% of sample A and a little bit, tiny little bit of B, etc., etc., etc. So if you here at J is reusing almost 90% of the code from previous releases of this malware family. So it shows over 4 or 5 years the reuse code is being reused by the attackers. So if you find, and the idea now is, if you find common code between the sample J and A, so you have an IOC which is essentially stable over 5 years. Okay, and that's the idea. Or the motivation for making code accessible as an IOC. That's why I have researched code, okay? So it's a very long-lived IOC, which is very hard to evade for the attacker, because he or she or they have to rewrite the code, their software, which is very expensive. It causes them really pain. And what does our technology do? We have researched and now put in the product. Essentially, what we say, it's kind of advanced code search at scale. It's it's an analogy, and it's always dangerous, but it's kind of a Google, which can search the web, it's kind of a Google for code, for binary code. We can search binary code across thousands, hundreds, thousands, millions of samples, which we first have to index, much like Google, and then we can search for them. And of course, a good search is never an exact search, like Google. I mean, Google works, if you're looking for Swiss cyberstorm, you can write it in 10 different ways, right? You can even do typos, and it will still find the Swiss cyberstorm website for you. The same as with code search. It's a similarity search which is smart. So we'll find versions of the same software, malware, easily, even if it's modified, right? So what you see here is, that's, I think, a botnet family which I've tracked over 2 years. And the idea is the following. Each of these dots here is an essential malware sample, a malware-based attack, right? And for all these samples, we can easily find similar samples, and we can recover the whole family. We see releases between families. We see the evolution, etc. We can detect them and all these things. And that's easy to do for a few samples. So really the hard part in this research and this technology is to scale this up to millions of samples and to be still performant, to be fast, right? That's the hard thing. And the trick to do it is essentially use machine learning techniques. They tend to be much more efficient than classical techniques. There's also lots of research literature on that. And we are based on some of these techniques. So now if you go over to the product, right? So based on these code search techniques, we bring this product to the market. And how does the product look? From the usage perspective, who's using sandboxes or malware sandboxes? Okay, I guess everybody knows what a sandbox is. You can upload a file and get a verdict if it's bad or evil, plus lots of details. From the usage perspective, we're quite similar. You can upload it to a system and give you a verdict, but the verdict is quite different from a sandbox. So what we're trying to do is to identify what it is. So we tell you, is it a trick bot? Is it the APT? Is it whatever, right? Using code search. So the thing is, essentially, using this code search, we can do stuff better than previously, like classical things, identification, classification, detection. We can do it in a new way, but in a very reliable way. That's the core functionality of the system. So you upload it, we can identify it, classify it for you, detect it. And we've also built other features around it. When you upload a file to our system, it goes into a private repository, so it's not shared with the public. It's completely private, unlike other services. And what we also provide is a pre-analyzed threat feed. So what we do is we take in currently 10,000, but soon hundreds of thousands of samples every day, and we pre-process them. So what you can do, when you upload something, you can match them against what you have seen in your company or your organization, but also against what we see in the feeds we get from the outside world. So you can relate the local threat context to the global threat context. There's also lots of other functionalities, more than just these, but for time reasons, I want to show you a brief demo of what we can do in terms of identification. Maybe you can switch over to the short video. One more minute. It's in the browser. Okay. Here you go. Okay, so stop, thanks. So what you see here, stop it please, yeah. So wait, okay. We submitted some sample for analysis for a verdict. What you see here is like a traditional sandbox, you of course see what processes are being executed. That's kind of standard, but what you can do here, so I talk about the identification use case. Maybe you can run the video for a second. Stop, please. Okay. What we see in very details, we can identify what's running on that system. So we see all processes, and through our code search technology, we can label them. We see them. So this process is detected as being emotet, emotet, emotet. Okay, we see a whole lot of emotets. And what we see here is a trick bot. And that's very interesting because that's a standard kind of attack we see these days from the emotet trick bot operators. What they initially drop is a Word document. They run emotet, and then they drop trickbot through emotet. And this is fully automatically detected using our techniques, and we go into much more details. If you let the video run a bit, please. Okay, further. Okay, stop it, please. So what we detect then is for each process is running, we can detect the unknown code, which is potentially evil code. And we do it really on a fine granular basis. We can tell you each code region which we know is being executed. We can label them with the malware family. Okay, so you know exactly what is running on the system. You also stuff which we don't know. Okay, so this is some code which is running, which we can't identify in this case. And finding unknown things can be also very interesting, okay? Because the really evil attacks are, of course, the unknown attacks. So you can really thoroughly analyze what's going on in this use case. Thanks very much. Can you please switch back to the slides? So this was just a very short demo of our capabilities. The thing is, if you see the slides, we're currently finishing up the product, and it will be ready for POCs like now in a couple of weeks, end of October, and it will be on the market. If you can go to the last slide, please. Yeah, it will be on the market beginning of 2020. Of course, we're currently talking to people who'd like to try the technology, potential users, customers. You have my email there, down there. Please get in touch. If you want to use it, try it. We're more than happy to do so. Drop me an email. Also, later this year, next year, we'll be looking for threat researchers and developers. If you're interested, drop me an email, and then we can see. Thanks very much.
All right. Are there any questions for Endre? Yes, please.
Does it work on? Should you compare like code from malware?
Yeah.
Does it work with obfuscated code?
Absolutely. So I didn't talk about that. I mean, code deobfuscation is one of the tasks we need to do before we do this code search. Okay, so we, if you need to, we run the malware dynamically, we unpack it, we identify the code, and then it's the first stage is deobfuscation, essentially, unpacking deobfuscation. That's a good question.
Any other questions? So I've got one. You described it as a Google for malware code.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it? I'm not quite sure. You didn't say what the business model is. So can I look at it? Is it free or is it going to be a paid-for service?
It's paid for, yeah. It's commercial. I mean, if you work in a SOC or in a security team, I mean, imagine what the Google for malware can do for you or for threats. Okay? You have an unknown threat, you give it in the system, and we give you the whole context. I mean, identification is just one use case. Okay. We give you the context, what has been seen priorly in your organization, in the outside world. We can also aggregate things for you, like IOCs, which you can then feed into detection things. Yeah, so, no, it's a commercial thing, which you can buy from us.
Okay, but for now you're looking for kind of beta testers?
Not beta, the thing is done. I mean, no people who'd like to try it out.
Testers, okay.
Yeah, beta is a bit...
I'm sorry.
No, I don't know, no. We're not looking.
You know,
I mean, we worked for a long time in technology, so maybe that's interesting from the academic perspective. So we researched these technologies for like 5 years before we decided to put them into practice. So we had lots of time to do beta testing. Yeah. Now it's production quality code. So.
Well, you do remember that Google had this beta on it for
very
long
but
time. that was not meant as...
I just... no, don't worry. Okay.
Right. So we will now come to the last talk, last not least, the final talk of the day, which is from Malte Kuschnier, colleague at ZHAW. And he's going to talk about application security, or more specifically about automating application security testing. Malte is a seasoned professional in the security industry. He's done pen testing and security consulting, so welcome him to the stage.